I set off a bomb to protect the AI, then I fused with it and transmigrated into a magic world full of cultivators.
Ezra Zhao woke up from his daze. He propped himself up on his hands and sat up on the bed. He looked around at his unfamiliar surroundings blankly.
I remember that I seemed to be dead, but this place is...
Suddenly, a strange memory kept surging into his mind.
So that's how it is. This is no longer Earth. I have transmigrated, and now I am the inner sect disciple of Sky Profound Sect.
Ezra browsed through his memories, and his eyes gradually became clear. Just as he was about to stand up, he fell heavily onto the bed. His body was soft, and he couldn't muster up any strength.
Warning. Severe damage has been detected on your body. Your internal organs are failing and deteriorating. Please seek treatment as soon as possible.
A familiar electronic voice suddenly sounded in his mind. Ezra was stunned for a moment, but he immediately came back to his senses. He could not help but say in pleasant surprise,
Light, you have also transmigrated and merged with me.
The Light was a super bio-brain. In his previous life, it had taken the Earth Union more than 100 years to develop it. However, just as the super brain had just emerged, the spies that had been lurking in the laboratory rebelled. As the highest authority in the laboratory, Ezra didn't want the superintelligence to fall into the hands of terrorists. This would be a disaster for the entire human race, so he activated the self-destruct button.
Yes, Master.
The Light replied. Ezra came back to his senses from the surprise and asked seriously,
By the way, you said that my body was seriously injured. What is going on?
After experiencing rebirth, he did not want to die immediately.
After scanning, I determined that your body has been in a poisoned state for at least a year.
Am I poisoned?
Ezra's expression changed. He had already received the memories of this body. In the past, Ezra was a martial artist and had learned some medical cultivation. If his body was poisoned, how could he not notice it? He had always thought that he had a strange disease that would make him weaker and weaker until he died of exhaustion.
According to the test results, there is a mixed poison in your body.
Mixed poison?
Ezra was stunned.
That's right. If these poisons are separated, they are all ordinary herbs that are harmless to the human body. However, when mixed together, they will become a slow-acting poison. According to the newly received memories, the probability of you discovering that you were poisoned in the past was infinitely close to zero.
So that was how it was. No wonder Ezra had been looking for famous doctors everywhere in the past, but he had never been able to find out the reason for his illness. Ezra suddenly understood and his expression turned cold. Since he was poisoned, there was a high chance that someone had poisoned him. Who on earth wanted to hurt him? Ezra started to search his memories. After thinking for a long time, he couldn't think of anything. Although he had received the memories of this body was too weak and his mind was dispirited. This caused some of his past memories to become blurry.
This world is focused on martial arts and the strong are respected. Before I was poisoned, I was the most outstanding genius of the Sky Profound Sect. At the age of 17, I had already reached Shi Refining Layer 3, becoming the youngest inner sect disciple of Sky Profound Sect, and I had also been highly valued by the sect master. He promised to betroth his daughter to me, and made a betrothal. I should have a bright future, but since I was poisoned...
Ezra couldn't help but sigh when he thought of the hard life he had lived for the past year, and the experience of dying quietly in the end. But he was no longer the Ezra of the past. Moreover, he now had the Light. He had to change the current situation as soon as possible. At this moment, there was a knock on the door.
Senior Brother Zhao, are you there?
Who is it?
Ezra retracted his thoughts and asked.
Senior Brother Zhao, the sect master sent me to inform you to come to the front courtyard square.
I understand.
After the footsteps outside the door left, Ezra frowned. He couldn't guess why the sect master was looking for him now. In this past year, ever since his cultivation base had plummeted, his status had been getting worse and worse. Even though he was still the future son-in-law of the sect master in name. But in the past half a year, the sect master had never mentioned anything about the engagement, or even paid attention to him. But no matter what, as an inner sect disciple, Ezra had no reason to refuse the summons of the sect master. Ezra felt that he had gradually recovered his strength. He stood up and moved his stiff limbs. Suddenly, he felt something hard in his arms. He took it out and saw that it was a dagger. This dagger was called Nether Dream Dagger, and it was a spirit weapon. This was what his grandfather had left him before he died. Ezra had always kept it close to his body. He had never told him about this. Spirit weapons were extremely precious. In the entire Sky Profound sect, there were only 4 spirit weapons. In the hands of martial cultivators, spirit weapons could unleash great power. After packing up briefly, Ezra pushed the door and walked out. According to his memories, he walked all the way to the square in the front yard. At this moment, there were more than 10 disciples of the sect standing in the square. They surrounded a young man with an arrogant expression in the middle. However, the sect master, Lester Zhang, did not appear here. When Ezra saw that the arrogant young man was Ricky Tian, he subconsciously frowned. Ricky Tian was a disciple of the Sky Profound sect. His talent in martial arts was very high, but back then, he had always been suppressed by Ezra. Later on, when he was competing for the spot of inner sect disciple, Ricky also lost to Ezra. Furthermore, Ezra's fiancée, Beatrice Zhang, the daughter of the sect master Lester Zhang, was Ricky's crush. However, Beatrice was suddenly betrothed to Ezra by the sect master. Ricky's personality was extreme and arrogant. Under this double blow, he hated Ezra from then on. Before Ezra was poisoned, Ricky couldn't do anything to him. However, ever since Ezra was poisoned, his strength had plummeted. Ricky began to target him in every way. He even often embarrassed Ezra in public. At this moment, the status of the two of them changed. Ezra's status began to fall, and Ricky began to rise. Half a year ago, Ricky had already become an inner sect disciple and a rising star in the sect. In the past, in order not to humiliate himself, Ezra would often avoid Ricky. Unfortunately, he met Ricky here. Ricky saw Ezra at first glance. He walked over and said sarcastically,
"Genius Xiao, why are you here? Don't you usually avoid me?"
The surrounding disciples roared with laughter and looked at Ezra with disdain. They were all ordinary outer sect disciples. On one hand, they were mocking Ezra because they wanted to curry favor with Ricky Tian. On the other hand, seeing a genius from the past being humiliated by them made them feel even better. Furthermore, the Sky Profound sect advocated the strong. The current Ezra was almost equivalent to a cripple. They naturally had the right to not take him seriously. Ezra laughed and said,
I came here under the order of the sect master. I heard that there was a group of wild dogs performing here, so I planned to come and take a look. Now, I don't see any wild dogs, but I happen to see you guys.
The smiles on the faces of Ricky Tian and the others immediately froze.
Who are you calling a wild dog?
One of them asked angrily.
Forget it. There's no need for you to be angry with a piece of trash who's about to die.
Ricky waved his hand and stopped that person. He looked at Ezra and said,
Ezra, I happen to have something to say to you. Even if you didn't come here, I would have gone to find you.
Ezra looked at him calmly. Ricky said slowly,
Ezra, you must have been very unhappy in the past half a year, right? You have been humiliated by me again and again, but you don't dare to do anything. Actually, I don't want to target you. After all, you are already a piece of trash. Besides, with your current condition, you won't live for long.
Ezra interrupted him and said,
Stop talking nonsense. If you have something to say, just say it.
Ricky snorted coldly and said,
Alright, then I'll be direct. As long as you take the initiative to break off the engagement with Beatrice, I promise not to target you in the future.
Seeing that Ezra did not speak, Ricky Tian continued.
Ezra, you are a smart man. You should understand that with your current condition, you are no longer worthy of Beatrice. You will not be happy together. If you take the initiative to break off the engagement, it will be good for you and everyone else.
Ezra said thoughtfully,
It seems like it wasn't the sect master who asked me to come, but you used the sect master's order to trick me into coming here, right?
Ricky laughed and said.
Will you agree to my request?
Ezra said calmly.
There is probably something you haven't figured out yet.
What is it?
Ricky frowned. Ezra said.
Even if my engagement with Beatrice only exists in name, this is still a matter between us. This has nothing to do with you.
Ricky's face turned cold and said.
So, you don't agree? Then don't blame me for being merciless.
After saying that, he approached Ezra step by step. Ezra retreated and said.
You want to hit me? The sect has a rule prohibiting disciples from fighting each other.
We are not fighting in private. I just want to spar with you.
Ricky sneered and said.
Although the sect rules forbid disciples from fighting in private, they encourage disciples to spar with each other.
That's right! We can all testify for Ricky. Ezra and Ricky were sparring, and it was proposed by Ezra. We'll make room for the two brothers.
The surrounding disciples laughed and said. They spread out and surrounded Ezra and Ricky in the middle. Ezra sighed and said.
Actually, you don't have to do this. I know my own situation, and I don't want Beatrice to feel wronged.
Ricky was stunned for a moment and then laughed mockingly.
Now you know this.
Ezra shook his head and said.
But you are threatening me now. If I agree to your words again, doesn't that mean I am afraid of you? So, I decided again that I won't break off the engagement.
What? You dare to play with me?
Ricky was furious. Ezra said.
As a martial artist, I don't want to continue such a weak life. Now, even if I am beaten to death by you, it is worth it. However, you are stronger than me now. You don't mind if I use a weapon, do you?
Seeing Ezra take out a dagger from his chest, Ricky said disdainfully.
How could I be afraid of you taking out a dagger? Even if you take out a spirit weapon, I can crush you like an ant.
In the past, when Ezra saw him, he was like a mouse seeing a cat, always avoiding him. However, Ezra seemed to have changed into a different person now. From Ezra's eyes, Ricky could not see the slightest bit of fear. This made the anger in Ricky's heart boil uncontrollably.
Since you don't mind, I will start attacking.
Ezra shouted and rushed towards Ricky. At the same time, he silently said in his mind,
Light, help me activate the Nether Dream Dagger.
Master, with your current condition, you can only launch one attack at most.
One attack was enough. Ezra's eyes were firm.
Look at this patient. He can't even stand steadily. He still wants to fight with senior brother Tian? Pitiful, ridiculous.
Seeing Ezra's unsteady footsteps, many disciples couldn't help but mock him. At this moment, even an ordinary person would be able to push him down. Ricky revealed a mocking expression. Naturally, he did not take Ezra seriously. At this moment, he was thinking about how to torture Ezra and make him agree to break off the engagement. Soon, Ezra rushed in front of Ricky. Sensing that the light was activating the genuine energy in his body, Ezra decided to immediately wave the Nether Dream Dagger in his hand. A faint black aura was emitted from the Nether Dream Dagger and slashed towards Ricky.
This is Saber Aura!
Ricky was shocked. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. He was struck by the aura and flew 5 meters away while screaming.